Let's tap in with each other.
Peace and good afternoon, HFR. We
Hey.
are Shah and Yanni from HFR. We're with Neurofabulous Coach Satta for today, our first episode of HFR Connect. And this is, I guess we call it my baby, don't we? Since
Yeah.
I'm kind of the one that pushed this
Yeah.
initiative. What we're doing is we want to share with the community and the world at large how we're building community with HFR. We've just gotten started on really putting our feet to the ground and doing our IRL community building. And we've been doing a lot online over the years, but we haven't been showing you how we do this. So we want to do this. And we're fortunate enough to have one of our most recent connections, Satta. We connected with her over TikTok. We also shared some time with her in a neurodiverse Twitter space for the Full Spectrum family. What, about 3 weeks ago now, huh?
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to have Satta say she's willing to come on here and hang out with us today. So, Satta, would you like to introduce yourself before we get started?
Of course. My name is Satta Jala, and I am a multi-passionate artist as well as holistic mind and body coach for neurodivergent creatives and artists as well. I also am a plant-based chef, doula, yogi. So everything kind of under that umbrella of like holistic wellness, right? So, and I'm a mom.
And she's a mom.
And I'm and you said an 11-year-old boy?
11 and 6. So I'm a mother of two boys.
Congratulations.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful.
How is that for two boys, though? I have a daughter and a son. You love
I,
it?
I love being a boy mom.
I bet. I
I love
bet.
it because they keep me on my toes. And I'm kind of like, when I was growing up, I was a tomboy anyways. So it kind of like
Mm.
makes sense. And I have all brothers,
Mm.
Uh,
the oldest of, and all younger siblings who are brothers. So I was always being rough and tumble with them, growing up. And then now I can get to be rough and tumble with my boy.
I bet they love it too, especially
Mhm.
if your mom gets down with them like that.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely dope. I'm sorry, I just kind of treaded all over and ran my mouth through the whole intro.
Mm-mm.
Did give you a chance to introduce
I'm
yourself. Do
good.
you want to
I'm
do any of
good.
your special intros? I know you're so good at introducing yourself and lighting up the screen.
Well, if you guys are HFR family, you already know me. It's Yanni, Yolanda Marie Yanni for short. And similar to Sata, multi-passionate creator. The main focal point is photography and being a strong advocate for holistic wellness and health all over. Yeah.
And something else besides photography, I think is very important to always share. And I'm always going to push this one. You know what I'm gonna talk
Oh,
about.
and writer.
An amazing writer. Her pen game is ridiculous. Um, but yes, thank you, babe. I'm sorry for not introducing you from the start. She's also, as of last Thursday, my wife.
All right, we got married.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sata. So we wanted to connect with you, and thank you. You actually reached out and initiated the the sequence of action of events that led to us finally connecting here.
Yeah.
Um, I figured maybe let's hear what your thoughts were to start, and let's just kind of have fun and roll our way through a conversation.
Yeah, so I really had a great time in the Twitter space with y'all. Thank you for bringing me back to Twitter.
Thank you.
Always been meaning to get reconnected back on Twitter because I have interest in Web3 and NFTs and stuff, but I still, things are still very new to me even though I know a little because I'm friends with Melap. She's
Oh
on,
yeah.
yeah, TikTok as well. We've had one-on-one conversations with each other. Um, and she's, informed me a lot about, things that are happening in Web3. So thank you because I've always been meaning to get back on there because I've, always looking for multiple platforms because again, like I'm a multi-passionate artist, right? So I do visual art, but I kind of been keeping it on the low and keeping it hush hush because, it's like, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my ish, right? So
Yeah.
So I like, even though I've been painting, I do like abstract and mixed media collage style. Um, and I don't know, I always get super shy when I talk about my visual art, but when it comes to performance art, like I've been doing that for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
I danced for a West African dance company for some years out of Brown University, um, and travel, doing like, theater, different things like that. And then also having my own band at one point. It was a reggae band.
Really.
Um, so, I'm comfortable on the mic, let's put it that way, or comfortable on stage. But when it comes to visual art, and I don't know if it's because I live in a very academia type of town and area and region. I live in New England now, so
Wow.
it's like there's so many like big Ivy League schools like within very close distance to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because, within this academia like type of town where it's like formal education, formal training is like, you know, so prided in, and I've never had any type of formal art education. Is just something that's intrinsic, and I just kind of let it flow, which is probably, something that comes, it's more of like an authentic thing, and I know a lot of people can appreciate that. But sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm gonna get judged because I didn't go to Rhode Island School of Design and study with the best, but what I'm starting to find out too is, because I talk to a lot of other neurodivergent creatives, and I had a conversation with one person, and come to find out they were very abused in the academic world when it came to their art. And I saw that, with them. I kind of sensed that because sometimes intuition, I'm an intuitive too. And they were like, yeah, my professors in art school were like very mean and super critical, and kind of stifled their art a little bit. So maybe it was a blessing that I didn't get formal education, like formal art school education, if you would.
Yeah.
So
I,
Yeah.
that sounds very similar to when you talked about dance and how you were warned away from it, right?
No, not dance, but going to school for photography. I experienced the abuse in
uh,
dance. No, I had not a mentor, but someone who I'd shared my portfolio with at early on in my career with photography, and they were like, please don't go to school. It will ruin you. Like,
yeah.
you have a natural eye, you have a natural gift. School is not for you. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay. And I had already felt in my heart that school wasn't for me, but I was like, it's what you do, here in the US, it's what you do. And so I was planning to, and then life had other plans, and that's not what happened. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that, the other artists that I know that did go to school, I hear that a lot. It's a very common
Hmm.
thread of, it seems like their point and purpose is to break you down and to humble you or put you in your place, or because you got to go through your rites of passage or whatever to become whatever. And it's also like, I think if art is genuine and it's real and it's coming from here, you're being an expression of your you-ness, then I don't think that needs to be judged or right or considered right or wrong. I think as long as that is an authentic expression, I don't think there's parameters or a grading scale that can adequately serve to share, help, teach. Like, I think it's one thing to teach certain techniques, a whole nother, like, you can't teach passion or like authentic self-expression, I think.
Very true.
Yeah.
I,
After you, I'm sorry.
no, I was just agreeing with that. Maybe maybe we dodged a major bullet. Because
Mhm.
being neurodivergent and already having to deal with masking and
Mhm.
not fitting in, that probably would have been super detrimental. So
It
thanks for
was, I mean,
this.
college was for me. It was really hard for me in college just to going away from school, going away from home and going away to school, I thought everything was going to be, I thought it was going to be a different world. I thought it was going to be Dwayne Wayne and
Yeah.
just living it up. I got there and I just couldn't figure out how to make things work. And if I'd gotten into an arts program with no arts experience in high school, it probably would have been a lot more troubling and challenging for me than it already was. And I mean, I just started doing visual arts at the beginning of the
Yeah,
pandemic,
when we
thanks to
met
her.
2020.
She pushed me to start
I
playing
had
around
to
with painting.
force him. He was like, I'm not a visual artist. I can't do this. That's just your thing. Like, he doubled down on it. I had to drag
Wow.
him to Michael's and being like, we're getting these paints, we're getting this canvas, we're going to try this out.
And then I
Word.
was painting on everything I could find after that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop.
Word.
But I still have the same hesitations that I think it sounds like you describe, and that I, I'm still very hesitant to show any of my paintings because mine is definitely just expression. It's not necessarily trained creations, and I definitely second guess just about everything that I put on canvas. So I I can relate very heavily to that.
And
But
it's so cool because I would have people ask me, like, you seem like you know how to draw. I'm like, really? You just
Mhm.
like I did a show in Chicago 2 years ago, and a friend of mine, her mother, she's a extraordinary visual artist. She was like, Santa, I feel like you draw and you do art and stuff. I'm like, a little. She was like, no, I think you're holding back something. I'm like, really? And um come to find, I looked at my natal chart,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you guys are like into like planetary shifts and stuff like that, but Pluto recently moved into Aquarius, and someone told me like, well, look at your Pluto sign, like where is your Pluto placement in your chart? And come to find out, Pluto is in my fifth house, and that's the house of creativity and like sensuality. And so like they were like, yo, you really need to like zero in right now, because for like this next 20-year span, like your art and your
Mm-hmm.
creativity stuff is going to that's gonna be the golden ticket. And I was like, oh, okay.
Ooh.
I've already kind of like started doing that, but I'm paying attention to it more now. So,
I'm just starting to get familiar with astrology, partially or heavily through Yanni. She's got a little. I don't want to speak for you on where you are with it, but I'm very curious about all of that. So now I want to know where Pluto is.
I have your chart. I've given you your chart before. We have your chart.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is Pluto in my?
I don't know where your Pluto is off the top of my head, but
I want to know where my Pluto is,
yeah.
right.
especially now because I'm actually in one of those phases where I know I'm in one of those phases now where creativity is in the driver's seat for so much
Mhm.
of what I've been doing. And for the past 20 years, prior to the pandemic, I guess I was very much kind of away from my creativity, wasn't really engaging with it much, and it just opened up exponentially over the past probably 5 years actually, because I started to really get back into making beats back in 20 late 2015 is when I started lightly, but I started going hard on making beats just nonstop, almost starting in 2018, and that led me to what got us to the point where we met because I needed a photographer to help me learn how to use cameras because I knew that in order to share your music, you had to be able to do visual stuff moving forward, and I had things going on here at the house, bringing other artists through the house, and I wanted to show what was going on here, but I just knew I didn't quite have it down yet with the camera. So I wanted to meet a photographer, met her, and everything just really blew up
That's
after we
dope.
met.
That's so dope.
It is. It's the best thing that's happened to me in probably ever, but in a long time, if not ever, to be
That's
honest.
wonderful.
But yeah, you wanted to connect, and you're coming down to visit see our
Yeah,
neck of the
yeah,
woods at some point in the next few weeks or so, I guess, right?
yeah. So there's a Black women in food and beverage conference that's happening in DC. So I just want to kind of like meet other women who look like me or in the food and beverage space, because that's another thing that I'm passionate about. And I love DC. I love the DMV area. I just love the vibe, you know what I mean, in that area. I always meet interesting people, and many people that I love live there in that area too. um but I know, but for some reason, like, again, following my intuition, following that intuitive nudging, I feel like, so I do curated like dinners and stuff like that. So my friend and I in Chicago, she has this really dope series called Intimate Settings, where it's kind of like a supper club type vibe, right? And then I've hosted an event here called Cannabis and Calabash, right, where
Mm-hmm.
infused cannabis infused 4-course meal type of thing with like all
Mm.
these different meals, plant-based meals from all over the African diaspora, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like the DMV area is a good place to kind of, bring some of that.
Yeah,
And what I
I'd love to team
I
up
know,
for something like that.
yeah.
Yes.
So from what I know, like a lot of people tell me like there's not a lot of African restaurants. I'm like, really? And
No, there's not. You get a lot of Caribbean,
okay.
Chinese, a lot of Asian type of restaurants, but there are not a lot of African restaurants.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so very shocking when I hear people that live in DC say that, or in the DMV area that say that, because I know that there's many Africans that live there. But
Yeah.
a friend, my best friend, she was like, yeah, a lot of people like do like suya stuff at home, and like
Mm-hmm.
people will come and like they'll like probably sell plates out the house or whatever
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
type stuff like that. So I'm like, yo, so that there's probably like a gap in the market that we're maybe doing some type of curated supper club or supper event like that will pop off in the DMV area. But like I don't live there, so like I want to always be connecting with people that know the ins and outs, and what I mean, have maybe their group of people or their soul tribe or their circle that will be into something like that. And it doesn't need to be huge, you know what I'm saying? So um when I found out that that's where y'all live, I was like, I wonder if they would be interested in that, and their soul tribe would
Yeah.
be interested in something of that nature. So that's kind of what I wanted to start the conversation around.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, we'd love to. I think I'm only familiar with Ethiopian restaurants in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I've seen a few, been to a couple, but not a lot, to be honest. So I would love to experience and be a part of even helping to make sure one of these events takes place. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love the idea.
Yeah, it's definitely very much one of those. If you know someone and they're having an event or like house or party, like then you can get the food. But outside of that, yeah, no, I'm not familiar with any
Crazy to
restaurant.
me. That's so crazy
Yeah.
to me. But I guess, it can be a good thing too to now, get the vibe flowing in that direction down there. You know what I mean? Because I know for myself, like the idea, like, oh, are you ever gonna open your own restaurants? Like the closest thing that I would get to a restaurant is like a food truck. I have to be mobile. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
around. I don't want a brick and mortar. I
Hmm.
love what I do. I love catering. I love being able to like, jump on the plane, and if someone caters me for like, do private chef stuff, I like that type of stuff. But to be tied down to a brick and mortar, it's like scary for my neurodivergent brain.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine. I'm petrified of ever having to go back into the workforce. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to do everything I can to use my creative facilities to make
Mhm.
make a way for us. And she's on the same boat here.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're talking about the events, the first thing that comes to mind for me, outside of finding venues and
Mhm.
places where you can do that, is a lot of what we were working toward building last year with the name of the squad is House of Fluid Reflections, the
Okay.
network. And our
Nice.
goal was to build, more creative events out of the house and
Mhm.
using the backyard. So maybe even an intimate event here or there where we can invite people to the space here and do something here. And
Because we had started something called Sanctuary Soul, which is essentially like an event that would be a safe space for you to come, have a meal with us, open up into sort of like inner child work healing
Mhm.
conversation, and then get to art. And so we had 2 sessions, and then the second one was our bigger one. And so we made food ourselves, and then we had paints and things for people to be able to draw, paint, whatever, and we just had open conversation over that. Then we had food with even more conversation, and just like move about the house, do whatever you want, talk, luck. We had a couple of our like little instruments, like someone we knew how to steel tongue drum. She brought that, so we were all just kind of vibing. And then we closed with I did a sound bath in closing in the evening, and like that was the event. And so we want to do more stuff like that, just like intimate, small, but also like purposeful, and with the
Yes.
idea of it being a safe place for your soul to just sort of open up and be. And like some of the feedback that we got from people was one woman left and she was like, I didn't realize I haven't felt like myself in a really long time, and I feel like me in my body right now. And so like that's what we want to continue to build on. So we would love, and that's the same thing we said. We were like, we got to collaborate with someone, because making the food ourselves, we were too taxed after it
So
was
that's
over.
it. Like, what's up, family?
Yes.
When can I come through and cook and vibe out? Yes,
Yes.
that
And
sounds so dope.
something else that's dope is one of the attendees at the last one was also a plant-based. She made plant-based desserts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you wanted to say, if I don't know if you do desserts and the whole meal, full course, but I mean, if you wanted to partner up or hand stuff off, there are opportunities to do all types of stuff. I love
Yeah.
the idea of
And
infused.
she's in culinary school right now too, so she's learning to become like an actual professional plant-based dessert
Wonderful.
chef.
Yeah, I would love, like, listen, collaboration is, it excites me as you were talking about it, like everything
Mhm.
in me started to light up. You know what I mean?
That's
So
beautiful.
I'm down. I'm so down. I guess it's, it's just a matter of, seeing what dates work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm even well, I don't know if that weekend of April 22nd would be super early. You know what I mean? Like how long do you, well, I'm assuming that you guys already have your community of people that are already plugged in already, right? So,
Actually, not a lot locally, to be honest. We've done
okay.
most of our building online. We just started getting our feet back on the ground, but
Okay.
I'm sure we can pull something together. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
we can do what we got to do.
It too, like, listen, I'm so about super intimate stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Especially me traveling from out of state, like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it could be overwhelming to know if you're doing like this big grand
yeah,
event, you
yeah.
know? So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's probably a great way to start and just kind of warm up, find our rhythm, and
yeah.
then work out. Okay, once we got our rhythm, okay, now let's build. Let's add on here. Let's add on there, and then maybe we even get it to the point that we take it to an external spot and get bigger. But I'm all for the slow build.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm in love with it.
Me too.
This is perfect. Wow, I had no idea this was one of your ideas, but I'm
Yes.
all in. Thank
I
you,
love
thank
it.
you, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to us for this. This is
Yes. And thank you for, opening up this space for us to now have this dialogue. It's like a creative meeting of minds.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you've got so many other things you do. I was looking at your your I
my,
always want to say link tree, but I don't
yeah,
want to call
yeah,
it a link tree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you can put that. Hmm.
your site, and you've talked about the plant-based chef
Hmm.
skills already, the mind and body coach. Can you talk a little bit about where that comes from and what kind of services you offer there?
Sure. So, it comes from me being a yoga teacher for the last 12 years.
Mm.
So, I want to say I had one of my first awakenings in 2009. And then fast forward to that, it was similar to, like, listen, when I say, like, what's going on now feels like deja vu, like, all of this, like, the banks are crumbling, this and that, you know what I mean? Because similar things happened between 2007 and 2009. It was the housing crisis that was going on. I also, lost the job, and, what I mean, was on unemployment, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next move. And this was shortly after I had stopped dancing in the dance company that I was with, and I decided that I wanted to branch off and do me, because it was starting to feel very weird, at that time.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm like, and I was already, like, building curriculums for, like, after school programs, doing programming in some of the public schools and things like that.
Mhm.
So I was like, I know how to do this. I'm a branch off and, start my own classes. You know what I'm saying? I don't need no, what I'm saying, sedity people at an Ivy League school telling me what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Word. That's
That's
the
another thing. Like, sometimes that whole aversion to authority, yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
part of that's a part of my neurodivergence too, right? So, fast forward, I started my band. It was called Rooted Sound. we were doing a lot of cover stuff at the time, but still making a lot of local headway. I had the opportunity to open for some big acts, big reggae acts, which was good. And I was teaching a dance class, an African, kind of like an African fusion, more like contemporary style dance class at a theater company. They say, "Hey, we have this studio available. If you want to use it to host classes, feel free to do that." And they advertised it for me. And it's so funny because I've always heard of this woman locally. They were like, "Oh, do you know Maya? You have to go to her yoga class." And yoga was always kind of like, calling me. But again, I was still kind of like, colonized in terms of religiosity and all that stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was decolonizing my spirituality at the same time, trying to get my footing and understand what I wanted to do. And then this woman, she just walks into my class one day, and it's the legendary Maya Breuer that I've been hearing about all these many years about, how she does this wonderful women of color yoga retreat in the Berkshires. She's been featured in Essence magazine, and, she rolls with a lot of, the Africana Studies department at Brown University. Some of those people are her friends and her clients. And she came to one of my classes the first week she came. She was like, "I absolutely love this class. I love you. Like, where have you been? Can you come and teach something like this at my Women of Color yoga retreat?" And mind you, I have been manifesting to go to this retreat center in the Berkshires, but it's super expensive. I'm like an artist, like, you know what I mean? Striving,
Mhm.
right? So I'm like, yeah, when I get some money, I'm gonna save up and go to this place, right? Come to find out, the ancestors, universe kind of like aligned everything to now have this woman come into my class, invite me to be a facilitator at
Wow.
the space that she does for women of color in doing yoga, right? And then the following week, she brings a whole band of like beautiful Black women with her to my class. I'm like,
Wow.
God, I can't believe this is happening. So then fast forward, she's like, "You know what? I really think you would make a great yoga teacher too." She was like, "I do yoga teacher training. You can train with me." And mind you, she was trained like by Iyengar and like all of the yoga legends in India. So
Wow.
I'm like, I was like, "I'm unemployed right now." Like, how much? She was like, "Listen, the fact that you are a woman of color, I will give you a partial scholarship because, a lot of people that look like us, especially in this region, don't do yoga, right? Or let alone teaching it. So I will give you a partial scholarship and we can work it out. You can do a payment plan, something that works for you." And it was the most pivotal shift in my life.
Wow.
Like yoga saved my life. Okay.
That's
Like, so the way the program was organized was it was a 9-month program. It was kind of like, individual self-study. Like we would meet one weekend every month for 9 months, but the rest of the months or whatever, like the rest of the weeks, we would do independent study. So it really influenced me to now start to like really deconstruct a lot of the stuff that I was suppressing for a long time. I didn't know, I mean, because I come from an immigrant family. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, go to school, you know what I'm saying? Get a degree, get a good job, type of thing. But I've always had this like artist, wanting to go the unbeaten path, so to speak, not knowing that it was going to lead me down a path to now really taking into consideration how I was breaking generational curses and trauma, healing generational trauma from my bloodline, right? Um, Yoga changed my life in so many ways because even just the breath work alone
Mhm.
helped me to like emotionally regulate and regulate my nervous system as a neurodivergent, right? Because that's one of the things that, because we're masking so much, because, you know what I mean, we're always on high alert because, the society that we live in makes us feel like this is not a safe place for people like us, right? So I did a lot of help myself, you know what I mean, regulate my nervous system. I remember one weekend after the yoga training, that yoga training weekend, I was on the verge of a panic attack. Like I was literally like starting to hyperventilate, and spirit said, use your tools. You've been learning enough, use your tools. And to this day, Ujjayi breath is like my favorite
Mhm.
breath, is my go-to breath for like everything, right? Um Ujjayi breath like saved my life that day. And from then on I was like, this yoga shit really works, right?
Mhm.
And then and then learning from a black woman, and learning like, you know, this is our stuff too, you know what I mean. It introduced me to authors like, you know, Dr. Muwata Ashby, who did like a lot of research around Kemetic yoga and the history of yoga in Kemet in Egypt. You know what I mean. When you look at the hieroglyphics, they're doing yoga in the hieroglyphics, right? And it made me to now dive deeper into understanding like, wow, we as, you know, people of the African diaspora, we've been doing this, right? And it was our master teachers in Egypt who had to leave, and they were on the run because, hello, colonizers were invading and burning down our libraries. So we ran into the Himalayan mountains, we ran to India, we ran to these different places, and we left our knowledge, you know, with the people so that they can hold it for us and codify it for us. Like, I mean, I give so much credit to India for holding this knowledge, but I also like to acknowledge that, you know, we as Africans, this is, you know, a part of our lineage as well, you know. So you know, just reconnecting to all that information, all that history, did so much for me in terms of decolonizing the way I thought, decolonizing the way I ate. Because I remember during yoga training, my teacher would say, she's like, you know, things are gonna start to change for you as you're on this course. Things are gonna start to change. You're gonna want to eat different. You're gonna want to do a lot of things different. And a
Mhm.
friend of mine at the time, he had brought over a documentary, a Peter Tosh documentary.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the X tapes, because Peter Tosh had this like kind of mixtape series before we even knew what mixtapes were, called the X tapes, where he would
Okay.
record himself. And there was a Rasta man that said, I can't afford to take another life in order to sustain my own. When he said that in the documentary, I was like, I just got it. Like something just clicked in my mind. Like, here is this Rasta man living in Kingston, Jamaica, where stray bullets are. This was like in the 80s, like the late 70s, 80s, when like there was a lot of political unrest during an election season, right? And
Yeah.
bullets were flying, people were dying, you know. And he was like, yo, I live in the middle of a war zone, yo. I can't afford to take another life in order to sustain my own, because I don't know when that karma is going to come back to me.
Yeah.
Like, my karma can come back to me tomorrow, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Depending on where I'm living at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just like, I was like, yo, this is this is real. And that's what started me now exploring plant-based, you know what I mean, for like the last 12 years. It's been on and off, you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
definitely since the pandemic, it's been okay. At least 80% of my diet is a plant-based diet. And then I also had a lot of Rasta brethren and sisterin where we were reason and stuff like that. And they also opened my palate, you know, because that was the first time that I learned that, you know, as a black person, I could enjoy plant-based food, you know, because, you know, let's be clear, like there's some of our, you know, non-melanated people that have kind of cornered the market in terms of the vegetarianism.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, their expression of that is different from the way we're used to, you know what I mean, experiencing our food, right?
Yeah.
So when I got with the Rasta community, they showed me like, you know what I mean, something that was close to African foods that I was eating at home already can be plant based, like kalalu, like, you know,
Mhm.
saying like yams, and you know, all kinds of like pumpkin stew and different things like the breadfruit stew. You know, these are things that I was familiar with being West African. And I was like, oh, okay, so we can do this too, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so
Oh,
wow.
that just reminded me of the spot in New York that had that kalaloo. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah.
And those plant-based
Like the,
patties. Oh,
yeah, the roti. I mean,
the
not all,
roti.
yeah, doubles, you know? Yeah.
Now I'm
Yeah.
hungry.
Right.
But yeah, your yoga journey or journeying into yoga sounds so similar to my own. Like I too say that like yoga saved my life, and I was actually like, and then it literally saved my life physically. I was in a car accident in 2017 or 2018, and when I went to PT, they were like, I don't understand, like your impact should be much different. Like how are you not further injured than you are? And they were like, well, what did you do? And I was like, well, as soon as the car accident was over, after we left the ER and they said nothing was broken, I went back home and I got on my yoga mat. Like something just told me like, get on your
Mhm.
yoga mat. And so I spent like just 2 hours on my first just light stretching, and then did a couple of asana flows, and that, and then I just like rested. And but every day for like I think 3 months I was just like on my mat every day, and they were like, yoga might have saved your like functional, like your physically, your physicality. Like yoga might have saved what you were able to do physically. And I still had like chronic back pain for a long time, but they were like, you probably doing yoga, getting on your yoga mat might have actually like saved the functionality of some of your body. And I was like, oh.
Wow. Yep. I believe it.
And
It's true.
yes, Ujjayi Pranayama will do it every
Listen.
single time. Yes, ma'am. When you said that, I was like, she knows the no.
Yeah.
She knows the no. Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, and I love that. That's what brought in your food journey as well.
Mhm.
Because that was one of those things that the yoga school that I trained with said that, like there's not the way, there's a way, but that everything will find its way into incorporating itself into that way. And truly, same for me. Like being in class brought me back to like, oh, I need energy to facilitate all this information that I'm processing and all this physical exertion that I'm doing. Like, I understand that there's 8 limbs and there's a whole support system to this. And
Right.
my body, this vessel that I'm here in this present moment, is a part of that. And that needs to be fortified for me to even be able to get to think about all the other aspects. So I love how that wrapped together for
Mhm.
you as well too. Like your story is just so resonant in that way. I'm just like, yes, 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 all day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew that part was going to be big. As soon as I heard her, I was like, "Oh, I don't understand what she just said, but I know you do,
Right.
and I know y'all talking the same language. I'm about to see something special happen here." So,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is the whole purpose for HFR Connect. Really, is just for us to find ways to really, really connect on a more personal level instead of just talking about art and just talking about how we can make money with art and talking
Mhm.
about what's going on in social media world or in pop culture. Like to have real, meaningful connections that will be encouraged to maintain and cultivate because we have multiple little tendrils that really kind of hook us into one another. So
Yeah.
this is beautiful seeing that this it feels like it's working. I like this.
Rehumanizing. We're human. We're people. We got story. And
Yes.
that's us. We got story. We got experience, and it should be shared. That's how we learn and grow, heal too.
Yes.
And
Thank you
this
for
is
saying that, Yanni. Like, we're humanizing and sharing stories because that really resonates with me, where I'm at right now and how I'm creating things. I'm
Mhm.
telling my story.
Yeah.
yeah. And this is all because of her. Honestly, HFR House of Fluid Reflections is her baby. She brought the idea, the concept. She created the mission, the rehumanizing creators by making them feel seen as people. All of
Mhm.
this is her brainchild, and I'm just fortunate to be a part of this. And I'm so excited to see this like really getting its legs and people resonating with it because she and I have all these conversations all the time. We've had so many hours and hours and hours of countless conversations that have just blown my mind wide open. And I just feel like the rest of the world needs to get just a taste of what's in her mind.
Mhm.
And I'm just happy to see that she has people that are on very similar wavelengths. I mean, watching your videos on TikTok and really resonating with what the messages you've been sending is just like, oh, again, somebody else who's just naturally pouring it, pouring it, pouring it. And so I'm really, I looked at you when I saw you on TikTok. I was like, okay, well, she's one of those people. It's not really somebody I can talk to, but I can just watch. So I was even more excited when we got a chance to start connecting and engaging. So to see that you're a human on top of that with what's going on is really dope. And speaking of the whole image that I saw from TikTok and what made me feel like, okay, this is just one of those unreachable people. Um, I saw that your journey on TikTok has been really, really exciting over the past few months. Like you had the blow over the past few months, right? What's that
Very,
been like?
still very new.
Yeah.
Very new. And it's puzzling sometimes, but I get it because every time I, have that question in my mind, like, but wasn't it just yesterday? And the ancestors always come like, you've been, you know what I'm saying? You've been 12 years in the game, okay? Like behind the scenes, we've been initiating you. You've been going through different parts of your initiation. So don't think that this is just some type of overnight or sudden thing. You know what I mean? We've been
Yeah.
really grooming you behind the scenes, spiritually, you know what I mean? Even with the various dark nights of the soul experience that I have, like I feel like now I am 10 toes down. Like you can throw anything at me, I'm like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't been through it all, seen it all. So, the things that come with, I don't know. I don't know what comes with it, but people say stuff comes, you know what I mean, at you. I feel like I can handle it now because even if it was just last year, I don't think I would have the wherewithal to understand, especially now being grounded and knowing my neurodivergence and you know what I'm saying, the unmasking and all of that.
Yeah.
Like this is what y'all are gonna get. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
this is me, you know what I mean? Like people are gonna have their perceptions, but I'm Satta, you know what I'm saying? I'm funny, I'm goofy, you know what I mean? I'm a hard rock sometimes when it's time to be.
Uh huh.
I'm a loving mom. Thank you, son. I'm a loving mom, uh friend, daughter, sister, you know what I mean? So it's like and I think too, we're moving in that age where, like, I hear a lot of people saying, like, this is the de-influencer age. You know what I'm saying? All of the influence. I'm starting to see it too. Like,
Yep.
I see people like that were like on Instagram. Some people now are like removing some of the plastic aesthetics from out of their bodies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And stripping down and finding religion and all of these things. So it's going to be very interesting to observe these
Mm-hmm.
next coming years how that manifests. But I do know that it's people like us, like I always say it on my lives all the time, it's like it's the neurodivergent people that are going to be the architects of the new earth, right? It's going to be people like us that are like authentic, take me as I am type of stuff, heartfelt, real life stories that are going to matter now. So yeah.
I feel the same thing about the fact that the heartfelt stories and the real genuine human connections as opposed to the superficial look at this shiny that seeing that that's changing. And I think I'm with you in thinking that the neurodivergence are the people who are going to be leading this because we're the people who are comfortable leading with our hearts, or we're getting more comfortable because we're understanding the concept of unmasking now and the value of it. We're seeing and reaping the benefits of unmasking and showing our true selves. I mean, that's what made your pop happen, right? Was you unmasking and saying, you know what? No, this is me, right?
Exactly that. And so many people resonated with it, right? And it's so funny because, yeah, the way it happened, like, again, like, I'm still learning more aspects about myself.
Mhm.
So I came into learning more about human design
Mm-hmm.
and learning that I am a generator and that my as a generator, like my sacral center is everything. Like I have to feel it in my gut. It's either a no or a yes, right?
Yes.
My
Yep.
body
Yeah.
will tell me. So it was a Saturday morning. I was getting ready to go to my uncle's funeral. And spirit's like, get up. This message is in you right now. Just get in front of your camera real quick before you get dressed to go to the funeral. And I just did it, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just being obedient to spirit that day because it was just like, yeah, man, like I'm tired of like, people telling me to pick one thing. You know how long I've heard that all my
Yeah.
life, to just pick one thing. Like, really? Like, someone like me who is like my hyperactive brain, you know, and it would make me feel so like so many different emotions and feelings that I've kind of like, you know, navigated through over the years, you know, of my life. And it's just like, you know, that didn't feel good. You know, sometimes I would even now, you know, want to shy away and not share who I really was, because people like, what you doing now? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One minute
Mm-hmm.
you're doing this, next minute you're doing that. How
Yeah.
many things can you do? That, like, you know, making me feel bad
Yeah.
about being multi-talented, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I thought that
Definitely relate
something wrong
there.
with me. Like, I thought it was like something wrong with me, not knowing like, oh, this is them projecting, you know what I mean? And not knowing how to stand up for myself in the midst of someone projecting, you
Yeah.
know?
Still go through a little bit of that still today. Like I'm at in that point where I'm okay. I need to narrow focus, and I'm telling myself to narrow focus, but I'm still like, yeah, but my mind is really firing hard over here. My mind's really firing hard over here. But you know, you got to focus in order to be successful, and success isn't necessarily measured by what you gain monetarily or financially, but I'm in a position where I've got to got to make some things happen. We've got to make some things happen.
Right.
So it is hard to it is hard to kind of decide whether to indulge some of these other areas where the fireworks are going off, and I'm like, I got to get to you later.
So
So
let me ask you this: like, when those fireworks are going off, um, and this kind of what I some things I share with the people that I work with, right? I tell them to go where your energy's flowing at that time. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I know sometimes we get hyper focused, but I tell them, you know, consider using the Pomodoro method, right? Give yourself this 1 hour time block to really lean into the fireworks for an hour,
yeah,
right? Like, and put a timer on and lean into that, because sometimes um that's where the gold is, you know what I mean? And it can lead us right back to where we wanted to be anyways, you
And
know?
that's what I've been telling him. It's like it's scary as fuck, excuse my French, but like sometimes that is the spirit energy. Like that is yourself letting you know that like no, the gold is here and this is what opens up all the other doors. And
uh-huh.
sometimes the thing that makes the logical sense based on our programming and the trauma that we experienced by
Mhm.
our current societal expectations saying like here's how you make money, here's how you get success versus like if this thing is burning, I always look at it as like if this thing is burning, it must mean there's the answer in there somewhere. Either it's going to unpack or unload something, or this is a way that I need to be moving that's going to create what I can't fathom at the moment. But my
Mhm.
inner and my spirit, my connectedness is letting me know that, oh, but that's that. Like, that's what you need to go sit in
Absolutely.
for a moment. And it's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yep.
But I think, like you were saying before, like each time you follow one of my wild whims, something amazing came out of it. And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's just from a life of realizing I was tired of feeling some type of way about people's thoughts, feelings, commentary about me and my multiple different passions, or, oh, you really wearing that? Or, oh, you're changing your style again. It's like, yeah, I'm just doing me, and getting to the point where it's like, oh, okay, if it feels wild and people have a problem with it, oh, let me lean into it. It must be something there, because
Yeah.
if it's riling, if it's ruffling feathers, but it feels good to me, then it must be for me.
Yep. Yep.
That's why I got you.
Amen.
That's why I got
Amen.
you.
Amen.
I'm
Yes.
fortunate as can be to have you. Yeah.
I wanted to ask too, like, I love the mind body coach along with chef. How did you figure out that you were for mothers and neurodiverse, like specifically? Like, was there a light bulb that went off or a process you experienced with realizing, oh, like, no, this is the people that I'm for and where my strong suit is?
So the way that happened, because I'm also a doula, like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
postpartum doula as well.
Beautiful.
And I know that, so like it kind of like spirit just was like, I think I was doing an oracle reading for one of my artist friends. And I was just so lit up as I was, you know what I'm saying, giving her these downloads and this information. And after that call was done, spirit was like, you know, this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? I'm like, yeah, this feels good to me, but like, how is that gonna happen? Like, how is that even gonna look for me to do that? And
Mm-hmm.
like, just lean into it and watch. And it was during, so at the beginning of this year, so end of last year, like December, I was doing a 21-day detox. It was for the winter solstice, and I was, you know, detoxing. And there's something about the gut health in reference to your brain, right? So the fact that I was cleaning out my gut now sharpened my
Mm-hmm.
brain, you know what I mean? Even my, and then I also started smoking different herbs, right? Like I
Mhm.
leaned away from the cannabis and was doing more like stuff that you would drink as a tea. I was like, I'm about to smoke my tea, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Okay.
smoking mugwort and chamomile
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
catnip and you know what I mean, a mixture of these different things, not knowing that those herbs also help with like lucid dreaming and your my dream life was just like what is going on? I felt like the ancestors were really now coming and visiting with me because I'm detoxing, my mind is getting clear, and now I'm smoking these, you know, these different type of herbs, these mind opening herbs, right? So I remember having a dream of a really prominent artist, really famous artist, and I don't even like this person's music really. Like I just hear them on the radio. I'm like, oh, okay, that's this person. And I'm like, I saw them in my dream, right? And like they looked like they were strung out on drugs, like, you know,
wow.
trying to break into my house. And I, you know what I mean? I kind of got real brolic with them. And I was like, stop knocking on my door. I was like, that's your problem, right? Like, you need to get your life right. You need to, you know what I'm saying? I was reading him for filth. And fast forward, as I was doing research, more research around my neurodivergence, I come to find out that that artist is also neurodivergent.
Wow.
And that was Spirit's way of saying, see, this is where I'm leading you. You're supposed to be coaching people. You have so much wisdom and knowledge, you know what I mean? And then my family that I come from, my grandmother, who I was named after, both of my grandmothers on both my maternal and paternal side were very wise women, and they were like high priestesses, I would call them,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
in their own right. Like my maternal grandmother, she was the doula, right? She
Mm-hmm.
was the one who gave all the babies their first bath, and you know what I'm saying, went and stayed with the mothers. Like, you know, she did a lot of postpartum doula stuff. That's why it's like I don't like doing birth doula work so much. I'm called to do the postpartum stuff. Like I really just like feel alive there. And then my paternal grandmother, she was definitely a high priestess. She was initiated with a very high ranking in the spiritual practice that we have in Liberia. So you know, these huge influences now coming in my dream space, you know, sending me subtle messages here and there. Um, so after I was, you know, doing a lot of coaching and people were now taking my advice and like, yo, you were so right. I started doing da 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 da. And Spirit was like, okay, let's think about how we're now going to shape and form this in a way that makes room for you. Right. So TikTok was the space. I started, I saw that there was a neurodivergent community on TikTok, but there were again a lot of people that didn't look like me that were
Mhm.
talking about neurodivergence. So I was like, okay, maybe there, you know, being that there's a void with, you know, the Black woman's voice, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because, you know, I talk about marginalized people, marginalized voices. So even in the neurodivergent space, there's still marginalized voices there too. So let me fill that gap in my own way, you know. And I did that, and you know, it's been working really well. I've been meeting amazing people um who are, you know, trying to find their way, who are like now exiting out of the corporate world or wanting to get out of the 9 to 5 rat race,
Yeah.
and they want to understand how to now take one of their talents and turn it into a hustle free income stream, right?
I
Yeah.
love how I read that on your website. I was like, I love that a hustle-free income stream. That's a love because that's one of the
Yeah,
things that verbiage
because
is one of the ways I've been working on, like the idea of hard work, having to hustle, having to grind. Like I've been doing so much unpacking because those words triggered the shit
listen.
out
Mhm.
of me.
Okay, yeah, same here. Like, I already got ADHD, and you gonna tell me to hustle hard? grind, like grind, that sounds like a broken or a rusty machine or something. You know what I'm saying? Grinding,
It's going to
right?
cause some damage at least. It's going to cause some
Right.
breaking down or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that didn't really I was like, I already have issues with certain aspects of executive functioning. So luckily, years ago, like I want to say like 2016, between 2015 and 2017, I worked with coaches, like because I really wanted to like figure out a way to really support me and my children without having to be a part of this matrix rat race, all the time, to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I pulled them out of school and everything. I was
Right.
like, we're gonna figure out a way. We're gonna, you know what I'm saying, live an unorthodox life, because I saw what my oldest son, when he would walk to school, like, you know what I mean, he was like turning into a zombie before my eyes, and I'm like, nah, man, I can't. And then they're now like putting certain stigmas on him in school. You know what I mean? He's a highly intelligent child, but yet you're giving him these types of grades on his report card. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this. You know what I mean? I was like, look, I pulled him out when he was in the second grade, and I said, listen, at least I know how to add, I know how to subtract. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We're gonna figure out a way to keep you, on task with, what you're supposed to be learning at your age level. But he also started to exceed that, because I'm starting to now see certain like neurodivergent traits in him. But back to the whole coaching thing, I worked with other coaches that taught me how to set up funnels, and, what I mean, set up landing pages, and to email marketing and all of these different things, right? I studied that for, I want to say, a good 3 to 4 years. Um, I went to conferences. I was a part of, accountability groups where we would now, keep each other on task. I remember I self-published my first ebook in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
just using free and low-cost internet tools. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, so I really can do this. And then it just started, and now I'm not saying that I always have it always figured out. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding myself always pivoting, you know what I mean, and doing things that is, calling me at that moment. And like I said, leaning into what feels good at that moment, because I always tend to find um something. Oh, okay, there's a pot of gold there too. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, there's an opportunity here for me to do this.
Yeah.
So fast forward now to the pandemic, when everything was locked down. When I say I was so relieved that I didn't have to go to work every day, like they say, okay, just stay home. Like you talking to ambivert who loves going in hermit mode and being all comfortable in her house.
Mm-hmm.
So what I started to do was I just started to film myself cooking for my children. You know what I mean? Like making plant-based meals, because COVID was scary in the beginning. So I leaned into my holistic wellness background, because I Queen Afu was like my spiritual mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sacred woman, I met her, I went to her house, and she was like, you're gonna be doing what I do here in Brooklyn, you're gonna do that where you live at. And I was like, okay, I don't know how that's gonna happen. But then now fast forward, I'm seeing everything, how it's happening, right? So I was like, okay, they're saying that COVID can, it's doing something to our respiratory system and our immune system. So, okay, what do I need to do to now strengthen my immune system? Well, maybe this is the time now for us to just really double down on plant-based so that we
Yeah.
can strengthen our immune system. Let's double down on the sea moss so we can strengthen our respiratory and our immune system. So I started just, filming myself cooking in my kitchen, posting it on Facebook, because I was on Facebook at the time. And it just started taking off. Like, and then fast forward, I actually received a fellowship for a arts and community health. So taking artists and turning them into creative community health advocates. You know what I mean? Like, so we were responsible for now creating campaigns around certain health disparities in our community. I won a fellowship for that, and it was through that fellowship that I was now able to go and do things in Africa as well. So I leaned into the things that I was passionate about, and what made sense and what the spirit was telling me to do. I'm always spirit led. That's one thing I can say. I'm always following spirit, listening to spirit. Um, yeah, and that's what led me to here.
That's beautiful. When it comes to understanding or figuring out that you were neurodivergent, how did that happen? Like, what was was there a series of events, and then was there a conversation, a video, something you read?
It was
What,
definitely a video. I came across another content creator. He's from the UK, and he works with I think he was a manager for like some rock bands and stuff like that in Europe for a long time. And then he realized that he was neurodivergent, that he was a multi-potentialite, as he would say. He works with multi-potentialites. And I was like, huh, this sounds interesting. This sounds like, it's up my alley. So I started, like, getting hyper focused on a lot of his videos and what he was teaching about. And I was like, this sounds like I've been experiencing this all of my life. Like some of the things that he was saying, and he was also bringing up neurological like brain researchers and things like that, and some of the studies that they had, and it was a lot of things were clicking for me. A lot of things were making sense, and then my goddaughter, she has autism, and she forwarded me some information to where I can do kind of like this self-diagnosis test, you know what I mean? And sure enough, I had, neurodivergence, definitely ADHD. And I always knew I had complex PTSD as well because of, certain things that happened to me throughout my life.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Oh. Well, I'm happy that you found it, and I'm happy that we found you. This has been beautiful. I'm looking forward to connecting more and more frequently, and especially if we do something toward the end of April. If not the end of April, soon. I guess we just need to figure out and set up what our next touch point. Was there anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to touch base on or connect on with regard to your visit? I know we talked about photography. Um, Eager to snap you up, flick you up, and make sure we get you
Yes.
some beautiful imagery to go back with you. I see you already catch some dope imagery just looking at your site here.
Yeah,
But
thanks. But like I said, I'm always looking to work with, new photographers. And I was telling Yanni actually before you came in back into the room that I have, a clothing collection that my brother and I, kind of put together and constructed, you know what I mean, that I definitely want to get some beautiful pictures
oh, okay,
of, you know what I mean? So when I come down, if we can now organize, photo shoot and different things like that, that'll be great. Because I plan on staying there for like at least, 4 or 5 days or something like that.
okay,
So
good.
yeah, it's not going to be something where I just only have like 48 hours, you know what I mean? I want to
Yeah,
spend some time in the area. Um, so it would just mainly be maybe setting a date. But again, like I want to still maybe take this week to kind of meditate more
yeah,
Hmm.
into
absolutely.
what spirit would have us do in terms of a concrete date. But of course now, I have y'all number now. I can text y'all and stuff. And
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
yeah, so
Perfect. Well, we're looking forward to it, and as we have some ideas or thoughts, we'll definitely make sure we share them, and just keep the connection alive. This has been beautiful, though. I
oh, I
appreciate
have
you.
one more thing. One more
Yeah.
thing. I would love to have y'all as guests on the My Neurofabulous podcast
Yeah.
as well. So
Of course.
please, yes, I would love to
Okay.
interview a neurodivergent couple and that are artists. I think that would be so so dope. So yeah, let's put that on, out there into the ethers, and Let's
Absolutely.
meditate. It's more or less about, you know, what times and days would now work for that, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're game, and we'll work. We'll work. We'll figure it out. We're definitely in though.
Yes,
I can
100%.
tell from your yes that it was a yes. So I
Yes.
didn't want to speak for you,
No,
but
you're good. Yeah, definitely a yes.
but yeah,
so
definitely. Well, we're excited. And what your podcast? Has the first episode dropped? What platforms are you on?
so I'm gonna be on YouTube and Anchor. We're still, you know what I mean, editing some last minute clips right now, but it should be up very, very soon.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
fantastic. We can't wait to hear it, and we'll definitely be sure to amplify your signal. I mean, that's one of the other
Yes.
things we I think is our one of our strong points is amplifying signals, making sure that when we see one of our people is broadcasting, we're going to send it out to all our people too, because that's how
Awesome.
we make these wins happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I truly, it's such a pleasure. It's such a blessing to find my soul tribe. Y'all don't understand.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
this
we
is
understand.
for. I know you understand.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, we do. it,
for this, y'all. So it's wonderful to now be speaking with y'all and feel the manifestation of this now. So thank you.
yeah, thank
Yes,
you so
thank
much.
you.
Yes,
Any
you're
final
welcome.
words, baby? Anything you'd like to
Yeah,
share with
Dad,
the
this
world?
is definitely right in alignment with what you were saying. Like, this has been asked for, manifested on, meditated on, prayed on. So, yeah, definitely right in time. So much gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for being you.
Yes, thank you too. I can't wait to see y'all in the flesh.
Can't wait to
Yes.
see you soon.
Yes,
Everybody, if you want to catch up with Satta, you'll see in the description. If you're watching this later, you'll see her link there, and you can also see it at the bottom of the screen right there. Check her out. Connect with her, especially if you're neurodivergent or
Yes.
you're plant based. Go
one,
check out what she's doing.
one
Oh,
more,
as many more things as you want, please.
one more thing. So, last week I again following spirit's instructions, I'm starting to do live reading, so oracle readings. I'm calling it wisdom Wednesdays,
Mm-hmm.
right? So on my live on TikTok, you can join the live. There is a donation, you know, associated with it, but you can come and get some oracle downloads and some messages around, you know, let's say if you have a creative project, you need more clarity, um, you have, you know, financial situations, whatever going on. We're opening the oracle card readings on Wednesdays. So if you can join us, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my TikTok live on Wednesdays.
11 Eastern, you say?
Yeah,
11 a.m.?
11 a.m. Eastern. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, beautiful. And if you got any other signals you need to send through to us, let us know. We will make sure we continue to amplify for you.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Satta.
This has
Take
been
care.
great.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace and
You
blessings.
You
too.
too.
Peace,
Peace,
peace.
peace.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. Our first episode of HFR Connect. How'd you feel about it, love?
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready for a snack.
I am ready for a snack too. You want to connect with us? We're hfrconnect.com. And don't forget, we got the new merch out there. We've got the HFR t shirts and hoodies, obviously, out there. Check those out. You get a chance. And the first Dragon's Pitchfork hoodie is out there now, too. Grab some merch, become part of the family. Let's connect. Peace.
Support so we can keep supporting you.
Peace, peace, peace. Now, how do I get out of here? I want to do something special and have like an outro. Let's try that.